If you're using a low sensitivity microphone with an interface or recorder that has preamps that sound like this, then using an inline preamp or line booster can make a huge difference in the noise level in your audio. This is the Tonor TA20, a line booster that offers 20 dB of gain for $75. Let's take a closer look and compare it to some other options. Before we dive in, I want to mention that Tonor sent me the TA20 for the purpose of making this review. However, I was not paid to make this video, and Tonor will not have a chance to see it before it is published. All right, first off, right out of the gate, let me just point out that you don't need an inline preamp if you have one of the many modern devices that actually offer enough gain for low sensitivity microphones like the SM7B. And that would be devices like the Rode Rodecaster Pro 2 or Rodecaster Duo, recorders like the Zoom F3 and F6, or the Tascam Portacapture X6 or X8, as well as several audio interfaces that offer over 60 dB of gain on the market. However, if you have an audio interface like the Focusrite Scarlett series that offers less than 60 dB of gain, or if you have one of the audio recorders out there like the Zoom H4n or the Tascam DR40X, those devices either have kind of noisy preamps or not enough gain to power microphones like this, or both. And if you have a device like that, then a line booster like the Tonor TA20 can make a big difference in the quality of your audio, both for a recording or in a live setting. Also want to point out that we are talking about low sensitivity microphones. So we're generally speaking not talking about condenser microphones. We're talking about dynamic microphones like the SM7B that have a very low sensitivity. There are several other dynamic microphones on the market like the Rode PodMic or the Electro Voice RE20 that have a sensitivity lower than -55 dBV, and that's where we're getting into the territory where a booster like the TA20 can help. So in either of those scenarios, an inline preamp like the TA20 or the Cloudlifter or the FetHead, any of those options, what they do is they take advantage of the phantom power from your recorder or your interface, and then they add gain into your signal chain. So the TA20 adds up to 20 dB of gain, which allows you to then turn your preamps down and get a lot less of that noise in the recording. Just listen to the difference. So far, you've been hearing the audio from the SM7B recording into the Zoom H4n with the Tonor TA20 in the signal chain, and I've been recording at 48 kilohertz 24-bit. And now you're hearing audio recorded in the Zoom H4n with the SM7B and no line booster present. There's no post-processing applied here other than normalizing the level to -16 LUFS with a limiter applied so that we don't have any clipping. I had to turn up the gain on the H4n all the way to 100% just to get a recording level with peaks around -15 or -18, and this is how much noise is present. And now back to the audio with the TA20, I've been able to turn the gain down to 50% on the Zoom H4n, so you're going to get a lot less noise in the final audio, which means I don't have to worry about using noise reduction, at least not a lot of noise reduction in post. So that's a really big difference just based on a simple test of whether the TA20 will help in this setup, in this scenario. However, the same thing can be said for the TA20's direct competitors, and that would be the Cloudlifter CL1 and the Triton Audio FetHead. They both also will absolutely help improve your audio in this type of a recording setup. So let's do some more testing. And now you're hearing the audio running through the Scarlett Solo 3rd Gen with the TA20 connected to the SM7B. So this is the other scenario where a line booster can help. The preamps on the Scarlett series are not noisy in general, but they don't offer a super high amount of gain. So if you're using a mic like the SM7B in a live setting where you can't boost the signal afterward, it might be a tad quiet. Now let's do a few more tests. I want to compare the TA20 to two other popular options, the Cloudlifter CL1 and the Triton Audio FetHead. What we're going to do first for our testing is use a 150 ohm resistor to see if there's any difference in the total signal noise between them. So the first thing we need to do is plug in the 150 ohm resistor into each booster and then connect those to the Scarlett Solo and turn on phantom power. Then we'll record 15 seconds from each one with the gain on the Scarlett Solo set at 50%. All right, so we've got our recordings for all four scenarios here. We've got a 15-second recording with the 150 ohm resistor for all three of our signal boosters, as well as one baseline with just the Scarlett Solo. But we do need to try to level match these a little bit, and that's why I've adjusted the gain on these different tracks, because each of these is adding a different amount of gain to the signal. The FetHead offers the highest amount of gain at plus 27 dB at a 3 kilo ohm input impedance, and that happens to be the input impedance of the Scarlett Solo. So we're going to add 27 dB of gain to the baseline recording, and the Tonor is expected to offer 20 dB of gain, so we're going to add 7 dB of gain to that track to bring it up to the same level as the FetHead. And lastly, the Cloudlifter CL1 is expected or stated to offer 25 dB of gain, also at a 3 kilo ohm load. So we're going to add 2 dB of gain to the Cloudlifter track to bring it up to the 27 of the FetHead. Now, this is not a perfectly scientific test here. We're really just looking for any really big obvious differences in the noise level between these 4 recordings now that they should be somewhat close to being level matched. All right, so now with all 4 of these playing back on loop, we can see the noise level registering there and leveling off in the RMS value in the bottom left corner of each of the plugins. We can see that we're getting actually more noise. The highest noise level is from the baseline recording of the Scarlett Solo without any signal booster. So we're seeing actually a higher noise level there with the RMS coming out to minus 74.3. And then the second highest noise is minus 80.9 RMS. That's coming from the Tonor TA20, but that is significantly lower noise than the baseline recording with no signal booster added. Then we've got the FetHead, which has minus 83 RMS value there. And then our quietest recording is the Cloudlifter CL1 with minus 85.1 RMS value there. So I'm seeing 2 things here. Number one, the claims from these manufacturers that make these inline preamps that you can get a cleaner recording using these versus just recording it, too quiet and then boosting it in post. It does appear to be fairly true. At least that seems to be true with a 150 ohm load and the Focusrite Scarlett Solo interface. Of course, these results are going to vary depending on the impedance of the microphone you're using and the interface or recorder that you're using. But the second thing I'm seeing here is that the noise level of the TA20 is just a little bit higher than both the FetHead and the Cloudlifter. However, it is a pretty small difference. Now for a final, more practical test, let's just compare the sound of the SM7B recording into the Scarlett Solo with each of these line boosters installed. You're currently hearing the Tonor TA20 running into the Scarlett Solo. I have the gain set just a tiny bit above 50%, and this is recording at 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. All samples will be normalized to minus 16 LUFS with a minus 2 dB limiter. However, no other post-processing will be applied. And this is a sample of the Cloudlifter CL1 connected to the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, again recording 48 kilohertz, 24-bit. We have 48 volts of phantom power engaged, just as with the TA20, and I left the gain also set at just a tiny bit over 50% on the Scarlett Solo. We'll be normalizing this to minus 16 LUFS. And this is a sample with the Triton Audio FetHead connected. Now this one, it may look like I don't have it connected to the Scarlett Solo, but the FetHead, because of its unique design compared to the other two, you can actually connect it inline right to the output of the microphone. So I've got it connected up here to the output of the SM7B, and then just connecting my one microphone cable to that, running that into the Scarlett Solo, which is recording 24-bit 48 kilohertz into my MacBook Pro. So there is one slight advantage there to the FetHead. You actually can use it with just one cable, at least with most microphones, instead of having to connect 2 cables to it. Now I still have the gain on the Scarlett Solo 3rd gen set to just above 50%. However, the signal is a little bit hotter coming from the FetHead compared to both the Cloudlifter and the Tonor TA20. This part of the comparison is not really about how much gain they're providing. It's more about, do you hear any difference in the SM7B across all 3? So after testing the TA20 with some noisier preamps as well as in the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, I can confidently say that it will provide you with a cleaner and higher gain signal when you pair it with a low sensitivity microphone like the Shure SM7B. Now, is it as good as the competition? Well, I have to say for the most part, yes, it's as good as its most direct competitors, the Cloudlifter CL1 and the Triton Audio FetHead. Now in the noise test, I did observe just a little bit higher noise level with the 150 ohm resistor connected in the TA20 compared to both the Cloudlifter and the FetHead. However, in terms of value per dollar to the performance that you're getting, I have to say the TA20 offers a pretty good value here because the retail price on Amazon is $74.99. However, I have seen it pretty regularly discounted as low as $59.99. So even without the discounted price, we're talking about half the price of a Cloudlifter CL1, which goes for $149. And when it's discounted to less than $75, it's less than half the cost of a Cloudlifter CL1. And so that slight difference in the noise level that we observed with the 150 ohm resistor To me, that's negligible because it's still a clean sounding result that I got, and it is less than half the price. The FetHead, however, has a retail price of around $63 US on Amazon, and it's regularly listed at only $54.99. So given the performance of the FetHead compared to the TA20, I really can't say that the TA20 is any better than the FetHead, and the FetHead is seemingly available at a slightly lower price. However, what I can say is that if you have the opportunity to grab the TA20 at a discounted price, I think it would definitely be worth it. I do have an affiliate link to the Amazon listing for the TA20 in the description of this video. Anything you purchase using that link will just help support this channel. So that'll do it for my review of the Tonor TA20. Let me know what you think. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button if you did find the video helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if you have any of these signal boosters and how you're liking them. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.